Hi guys, Princess Jerry Cannoli here from Chasing Fruit Loops on the Strong Island Television Network. Before we begin tonight's show, I just want to say a big hello to my new friend Isaac over in Ohio. And you know what's awesome with Isaac? He's autistic just like my nephew Nicky. So this show is dedicated to the two of them. Let's get into it. Tonight's show is all about Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. 'Twas the day before Christmas, and all through the hills, reindeer were playing, enjoying the spills of skating and coasting and climbing the willow, and hopscotch and leapfrog protected by pillows. While every so often they'd stop to call names at one little deer not allowed in their games. Ha ha, look at Rudolph. His nose is a sight. It's as red as a beet and twice as big and twice as bright. While Rudolph just wept, what else could he do? He knew the things they say were true. Here most reindeer noses were brownish and tiny. Poor Rudolph's was red, very large, and quite shiny. In the daylight it dazzled like the picture shows that, and at night it glowed like the eyes of a cat. And putting dirt on it made it look muddy. Oh boy, he was mad when they nicknamed him Ruddy. Although he was lonesome, he was always good, obeying his parents as a reindeer should. That's why on this day Rudolph almost felt playful. He hoped that from Santa, soon driving his sleigh of presents and candy, dollies and toys for good little animals, good girls and boys, he'd get just as much, and this is what pleased him, as the happier, handsome reindeer teased him. As night and fog hid the world like a hood, he went to bed hopeful. He knew he'd been good. While way up north on this foggy night, old Santa was packing his sled for its flight. This fog, Santa complained, will be hard to get through. He shook his round head, and his tummy shook too. Without any star or a moon or a compass, it's extra dark and quite likely to swamp us. To keep from collisions, we'll have to fly slow. To keep our direction, we'll have to fly low. We'll steer by the street lamps and houses tonight in order to finish before it becomes light. Just think how the boys and girls' faith will be shaken if we didn't reach them before they awaken. Come Dasher, come Dancer, come Prancer and Vixen, come Comet, come Cupid, Donner and Blitzen. Be quick with your supper, get hitched in a hurry. You too will find fog, a delay and a worry. And Santa was right, he usually is. This was as thick as a soda's white fizz. Just not getting lost required all Santa's skill, with street signs and numbers more difficult still. He tangled in treetops again and again. He barely missed hitting a tri-motored plane. He still made good speed, with much twisting and turning, as long as the street lamps and house lights were still burning. At each house, first noticing who lived there, he quickly selected presents to leave there. By midnight, however, the last flight fled, for even the big people went to bed. Because it might wake them, a match denied him. Oh, how he wished for one star to guide him. Through dark streets and houses old Santa fared poorly. He now picked the presents more slowly and less surely. He really was worried for what he'd do if folks started waking before he was through. Because it might wake them, a match denied him. Oh, how he wished for one star to guide him. Through dark streets and houses old Santa fared poorly. He now picked the presents more slowly and less surely. He really was worried for what he'd do if folks started waking before he was through. The air was still foggy, the night dark and drear, when Santa arrived at the home of the deer. A ledge that he tripped on while seeking the chimney gave Santa a spill and painfully skinned his knee. The room he came down was blacker than ink. What he went for was a chair and found it a sink. The first reindeer room was so very black. He tripped on the rug and fell on his back. So dark that he had to make a move close to the bed and squint very hard on the sleeping deer's head. Before he could choose the right kind of toy, a doll for a girl or a train for a boy. But all this took time and filled Santa with gloom, while slowly he went towards the next reindeer room. The door he just opened, and to his surprise, a dim but quite definite light met his eyes. The light wasn't burning, the glow came instead from something that lay at the head of the bed. And there lie, but wait now, what would you suppose? The glow, you guessed, was coming from Rudolph's red nose. He went back to Rudolph and started to shake him, of course very gently, in order to wake him. And Rudolph could scarcely believe his own eyes. You can just imagine his joy and surprise at seeing stood there so real and near, while telling the tale we've already told here. Poor Santa's sad tale of distress and losing the way, the horrible fear that some children may waken before his complete Christmas trip had been taken. And you, he told Rudolph, you may have saved the day. Your wonderful forehead may yet pave the way. For a wonderful triumph it could actually might. Old Santa, you notice, was extra polite to Rudolph regarding his wonderful forehead. To call it a big shiny nose would have been so horrid. I need you, said Santa, to help me tonight, to lead my dear on the rest of our flight. And Rudolph broke out into such a big grin, it almost connected his ears to his chin. A note for his folks, he dashed off in a hurry. I've gone to help Santa, he wrote, do not worry. Said Santa to my sleigh, I'll bring down to the lawn. You'll stick in the chimney, and a flash, he was gone. So Rudolph pranced out through the door, very gay, and he took his proud place at the head of the sleigh. The rest of the night, well, what would you guess? Old Santa's idea was a brilliant success. As brilliant was almost no word for this way, Rudolph directed the deer in the sleigh. In spite of the fog, they flew quickly and low, and made much use of the wonderful glow. From Rudolph's forehead at each intersection, that not even once did they lose their direction. While as for the houses and streets with signs on them, they merely flew close so Rudolph can shine on them. To tell who lived where, and just what to give whom, they'd flew by each window and peek in the room. Old Santa knew always which children were good, and minded their parents and ate as they should. Santa selected the gift that was right, while Rudolph's, forehead just gave enough light. It all went so fast that before it was day, the very last present was given away. The very last stocking was filled to the top, just as the sun was preparing to pop. The sun woke the reindeer in Rudolph's hometown. They found the short message that he'd written down. They all gathered outside to await his return and were very excited, astonished to learn that Rudolph, the ugliest deer of them all, Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer, bashful and small, the funny-faced fellow they always called names and practically never allowed him in their reindeer games, was to be envied by all far and near, for no greater honor came to a deer than riding with Santa and guiding the sleigh, the number one job on the number one day. The sleigh and the reindeer came into view, and Rudolph still led them. Downward they flew. Oh boy, he was proud as they came to a landing right where his handsome playmates were standing. These bad deer used to do nothing but tease him, would now do anything to please him. They even felt sorrier that they had been bad when Santa said, "Rudolph, I never had a deer quite so brave or brilliant as you, fighting black fog and guiding me through. But last night's journey was actually bossed. Without you, I'm certain we all would have been lost. I hope you'll continue to keep us from grief on future trips as Commander and Chief." Rudolph blushed from his head to his toes until his fur was as red as his nose. The crowd first applauded, then started to screech, "Hooray for our Rudolph, and we want a speech." But Rudolph was bashful despite being a hero, and tired, his sleep on the top totaled 0. That's why his speech was brief and not bright. Merry Christmas to all, and all a good night. And that's why, whenever it's foggy and gray, it's Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer who guides the sleigh. Be listening this Christmas, but don't make a peep, 'cause that late at night children should be asleep. The very first sound that you'll hear on the roof, provided there's fog, it'll be Rudolph's hoof. And soon after that, if you're still as a mouse, you may hear a swish as he flies around the house and gives enough light to give Santa a view of you in your room. And when they're all through, you may hear them call as they drive out of sight, "Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night."
I'm sorry to bother you, but I have 30 seconds to give you a very important message. My name is Arthur Lee. I'm the CEO and inventor of LifeVac, a simple choking rescue device that could save a life in a choking emergency. We've saved over 3,000 lives now, but we're not there. 5,000 people a year choke to death, 1 child every 5 days. Please consider protecting your family in a choking emergency with LifeVac. Go to lifevac.net today. Thank you for your time.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Hi, Merry Christmas, everybody. It's Ann Rothney and her family from Taft, California, wishing you happy holidays and a very healthy, happy New Year. God bless.
Merry Christmas,
everyone
from North
Carolina.
Not yet.
Merry Christmas, everybody, from Carrington.
Woo!
Come down, 2 for 1.
I just want to say Merry Christmas to everybody and a Happy New Year. The History of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Rudolph first appeared in 1939 in a booklet written by Robert L. May and published by the department store Montgomery Ward. May was assigned by the retailer because previously they were buying and giving away coloring books for Christmas every year. They decided by creating their own they would be able to save some money. Montgomery Ward wanted a story with the main character being an animal, so it can compete with the recently released short film Ferdinand the Bull by Disney. This request came to May at a very difficult time in his life. His wife Evelyn was dying of cancer, and he was struggling to support his family and paying for her treatments. One day, Robert was staring out his office window in downtown Chicago. A thick fog rolled in from Lake Michigan, and that gave him some inspiration. He remembered his 4-year-old daughter, Barbara, loved reindeer, and then he drew upon some of his childhood memories. He wrote the book in about 50 hours. After drafting each part, he read it to Barbara. July 28, 1939, his wife Evelyn passed on after a long battle of cancer. His boss offered to relieve him of the project and let someone else finish it. He declined and finished it up in late August. This soft-covered Rudolph poem booklet was first distributed by Montgomery Ward during the 1939 holiday season. Shoppers loved it, and 2.4 million copies were distributed. Unfortunately, wartime was around. Restrictions on paper prevented a reissue until 1946, and that year another 3.6 million copies were given to the shoppers. May received an offer from RCA Victor to do a spoken word record of the poem, but Montgomery Ward held the rights. Vice President and President went back and forth a bit and eventually gave him permission to copyright the poem free and clear of charge. Unfortunately, the transfer didn't take place until January of 1947. Meanwhile, May couldn't find a publisher, even with 6 million copies distributed, until he met Harry Elbaum. At the time, Harry was the head of Maxton Publishing in New York. You see, Harry was a short man with a big nose, and he said he knew what it was like for Rudolph, and he was willing to take a chance, and he did that just in the nick of time for the 1947 holiday season. In 1948, May persuaded his brother-in-law, Johnny Marks, to write the words and music for a musical adaptation. The song was turned down by Bing Crosby and Diana Shaw, but was recorded in 1949 by Gene Autry, and it was a phenomenal success. All right, guys, what did you think about tonight's show? Leave some comments. I need to know. Anyhow, before I sign out, I want to thank Bobby Lacerra because he puts up with me and my lunacy. And I also have to thank you, my viewers, because without you guys, I don't have a show. I want to wish everybody a Merry, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And if you hear a wish and a swish, you know who's on your roof. It's Rudolph. Good night, guys. Merry Christmas.